Hello and welcome to our webinar, Bring Strategic Portfolio Management to Monday.com using OnePlan, presented by Jim Patterson. If you enjoy this topic, please explore our YouTube channel for more recorded webinars.
And welcome everybody. This topic today is really prevalent in the fact that in this day of cloud tools for project management, task management, portfolio management, there's a lot of different tools out there that have gotten fairly popular with some capabilities that they have, but they may not have all the capabilities that customers and organizations are looking to have in the whole area of portfolio management. Today, we're going to focus on how the popular use of Monday.com can be extended to bring full strategic portfolio management capabilities to it and to its use using OnePlan. So let's move forward. Traditional project and portfolio management capabilities really started in the last handful of decades, and people were doing just individual project management for a long time and not really having harness on full portfolios of projects. And some basic capabilities that have been kind of become standard things over recent years is really to advance the capabilities and effectivenesses of organizations. And the typical benefits of project and portfolio management disciplines and tools have been some of the following. Help get people more clarity and consistency around their project management activities. Understand, that we're doing things in a repeatable manner. Define and pursue clearer objectives, meaning have everybody maybe understand what's expected of them, even if it's just on an individual project basis. Also, to make your planning operations more realistic and complete, make sure we're factoring in all the things that need to be taken into account to complete a project successfully. And then there's the resource component, making sure that we optimize the allocation of resources, or are we committing to things beyond our ability to apply resources and actually deliver. And then if we have a more realistic workload for people, we can enhance and improve the quality of deliverables because people aren't so stretched and aren't so rushed to get things delivered beyond their capability to deliver in a quality fashion. And just overall better visibility and reporting sometimes is the overarching things that people want from a portfolio management solution. Now, ultimately, today, there are so many tools of lightweight, mid-weight capabilities that provide these capabilities or some subset of these capabilities, or even just individual project and task management out there. And we need to do more in today's modern digital age. What we really need to do is we really need to align strategy with execution. Execution isn't enough, and its execution on an individual initiative or project isn't sufficient either to have that in our purview. So we need to connect shared objectives of our business strategists, our leaders that are setting the course for our businesses, and those executing the change, or those basically deciding on the projects that they're going to work on necessarily, and actually delivering on those projects and initiatives that they're working on, making sure that we're delivering the right and true business value. And that gives us needs at both the program and the portfolio level that don't necessarily get addressed by a project scheduling or planning tool. Now, this involves multiple dimensions. It's the people, and their skill sets. It's the strategy that we put in place and the operations of executing on all this. And it's really a system of developing that strategy, planning according to that strategy, organizational alignment across maybe multiple functional areas of an organization, or even across the board, building operational plans around that, and then as we execute, monitor and learn along the way and adapt and be able to change on a ready basis. And it really forms the basis for us to increase value by executing the strategy in the right way and adapting to things as strategies change. Now, strategic portfolio management, or the acronym that's coined as SPM, really combines business capabilities, processes, and supporting portfolio management technology. And if you look at the graphic on the right-hand side, you can see that objectives or strategies and maybe some tangible key results that measure our success in achieving those strategies are then aligned with different things like projects and maybe epics in a more agile effort, or maybe features in a software or product development type of focus. And they also may need to be aligned or associated or have focus on the different value streams that they're part of in your organization, different products that we're dependent on or applications we're dependent on, or just overall business capabilities that might have to be modernized or changed in order to succeed at the actual projects themselves or achieve the overall objective. So leadership really requires strategic portfolio management to support enterprise-wide strategy and execution alignment. Because in this digital age, oftentimes changes in strategy touch every part of the organization and they all have to be rowing in the same direction. It's also that the definition of these strategies and the outcomes have to factor in these other elements that you see at the bottom of that graphic below. And if we don't factor those things in, we may overlook key success factors in order to be able to achieve. And then we need to capture and prioritize and define the business strategies, manage the execution of the initiatives to their successful completion and making sure that they still align with the current strategies, and then provide full visibility into the core functional assets that are needed or have to be addressed as part of our overall effort. The key there is that it meets the needs of leadership who set the direction, the IT and functional management who own those assets that we're talking about, and then the execution teams that have to deliver. Now, why is this important? Why do we need to take this step from the traditional project and portfolio management to this more strategic portfolio management discipline in today's business environment? Well, our environments are increasingly complex. And as things become more uncertain and change more rapidly, we are always seeking ways to manage our risk, optimize our portfolios, and ensure that they remain aligned with their strategic goals, because it's not just a matter of your annual operating plan, setting it out in January, what those strategies are, and there's no guarantee that those priorities are going to stay the same over the course of the entire year. Greater need for financial and resource optimization. As organizations face budget and resource constraints, we have to be better at identifying and prioritizing the most critical efforts and allocate resources to those things, to ones that maximize our return and the value that we deliver to both our internal and external customers. And pulling all this data together, it's not good enough to have a tool that lets people manage a project over here and an initiate over here and different things in a disjointed fashion, because we need a comprehensive view to make good decision making. We need decision support that's more comprehensive, and we need insights into the entire portfolio or portfolios to make those decisions. And then on top of that, we're using a variety of different methodologies and frameworks and approaches to executing on our projects and our work. And there's a greater need now to aggregate all that into a common hub to make sure that we have full visibility into all efforts and how they align to all of our strategies, and get visibility of all dimensions of the projects, whether they be schedules, resources, financials, etc. And the emerging technology and business models, because of the change in the marketplace, because of the change in technologies, the disruptive things that are out there, there are new opportunities and challenges for organizations, and we have to decide how to address the challenges or take advantage of the opportunities. That means as they come along, it forces us to reassess our priorities and our strategies all the time to make sure that they're relevant and that when we deliver at the end of the day, we're delivering the right things. So the shift towards SPM to enable this organizational agility also involves a trend where more organizations are doing less with departmental PMOs and evolving more enterprise PMO or EPMO capabilities, because a lot of these digital efforts stretch across the entire organization, are not just localized within certain departments or business units. And SPM has three key attributes for success. One, portfolio alignment, which we've talked about. Ongoing portfolio flexibility to have the visibility and the insight to be able to adjust and change course or modify course as we need to on a timely basis. And then make value-driven decision-making. What are the things that are going to provide the most value to the organization according to the alignments and the strategies and the priorities that we've put in place? And Gartner, through studies, have shown that organizations that are highly effective at all three of these attributes are more than twice as likely to drive positive business outcomes. Now, the opportunity here is that less than 20% of organizations are highly effective at all three key attributes, meaning there's an opportunity for improvement across the entire marketplace to improve in this area. And that they also found that a fragmented approach, if we leave these things siloed in an individual department or project by project basis, it can lead to excessive cost due to conflicting priorities, redundant processes, even redundant project efforts, and totally misaligned goals to miss the mark. And also, if we don't have a strategic view of all this, we have the tendency to be overwhelmed by the day-to-day demands of crises and emergencies and operational needs that pull us away from the strategic things that we need to be working on for the long-term health of our organization. So if we don't have something that purposely puts us in that direction, we can get led astray. Now, OnePlan was designed to put strategic portfolio management at the forefront and be a complete solution for the enterprise. Provide tools for the business leaders so they can put objectives and key results and maybe define value streams, etc. Tools for the execution leaders, regardless of what methodologies or tools that they're using. The idea is to provide the execution tools, whether it be agile, more adaptive approaches, more traditional waterfall, whatever it might be, professional services, automation approaches, etc. Have all of those things aligned with the strategies, and then factor in your enterprise architecture, your applications, your business capabilities, and the other aspects that we need to factor in, like we talked about earlier on. Now, this is not meant to just be a PMO tool. The project management office is listed here, but as we do in this digital age, things that transform across the organization in our digital and business transformation efforts, we're going to have to touch and make modifications and have movement in all these different areas, and they generally have to be in concert with one another and not at odds with one another. So being able to have that common visibility and a capability and a tool set to do that is really important. Now the price is, if we remain in silos and we have lack of alignment, there's inefficiencies and dysfunction that's prevalent. You know, poor alignment and collaboration between the functional areas, manual mashups of data, if you can even get it from multiple tools and data sources, and then be able to boil that down into a form and format in reporting and dashboards that, or even just manual PowerPoints that may be outdated by the time you make them. It also runs the risk of duplication of effort, which is wasted time in data entry and effort. And it's also prone to errors as you transcribe things across multiple spreadsheets and different tools. It's also just difficult to remain accurate and current across the board, and really hard to chase team members down for timely and complete status and updates if they're updating across a variety of different tools, spreadsheets, and other things. And then the whole resource planning and resource capacity thing on the side, it tends to then be its own separate data silo that may not even be connected or or relevant to the actual task or project plans that are going into place. Now, OnePlan is designed to extend Monday.com and other tools and provide the additional capabilities that they like. Now, Monday has gotten very popular for a good reason. It's had explosive growth for individuals and teams. And part of the reason for that is its ease of use, its simplicity, and the flexibility of it. They're big drivers of adoption, easy to get started, but it's a little unstructured. There's a lack of enterprise standards, and the capabilities that it has or doesn't have limits meaningful overall reporting across all projects in different parts of the organization. Now, as usage gets broader across an organization, it tends to put a focus on or highlight gaps and missing capabilities that people want in an overall strategic portfolio management solution. And then the PMOs and the EPMOs that we've discussed have trouble harnessing all that information and corralling it for portfolio level needs and getting that information up to leadership so they can have that decision support we talked about. So more advanced approaches require additional capabilities that can extend beyond the existing Monday use and capabilities that are there. Now, the good news is enhancement of that existing use of Monday, rather than replacing that as a tool, is often preferred. And OnePlan gives companies the option to do just that. Now, OnePlan provides strategic portfolio management capability, all up, but it can leverage individual planning information that's coming from the different boards within Monday.com. And the idea here is that if you are a Monday.com shop across the board, we can just simply add those capabilities to your comprehensive use of Monday at that detailed execution level and provide the strategic portfolio management capabilities we're going to talk about here today. On top of that, if Monday is prevalent in just a part of your organization, Monday could be one of the feeds that come into a strategic or adaptive portfolio management case where we're using different tools and methodologies. And we might be using things in conjunction with people that are using Microsoft Project for the web or Project Professional on the desktop, or things like Azure DevOps or Jira, or as Microsoft has rebranded, the new Planner, Basic and Premium, which is their new Project for the web branding that's out there. The idea is that you can have a comprehensive need that includes and doesn't exclude or negate your use of Monday, but enhances it. Now, what does OnePlan provide as far as overall capabilities? Well, on the strategy side, it provides the ability to build your objectives and key results in your strategic execution plan. That way, we set the course for the organization on the things that leadership wants us to be doing and the measurements of how we're doing on getting there. There's the enterprise architecture and business architecture elements that allow us to define these portfolios such that we can track them as well as align them with our strategies and with our projects and initiatives. And then there's the ideation and the requests area. We may have a scenario where internally ideas can come from anywhere in the organization. It could come from external folks, our customers even. And the idea there is we need to vet those and look at them and assess them in the context of what the overall strategy is and our ability to deliver those things as we look to approve those things. Now, ultimately, as we look through that funnel of requests and ideas and things like that, some of them are going to be approved to become our active portfolio. And as we plan that portfolio, we might have different traditional views of portfolios and different levels of the hierarchy, things that your individual project planning tools aren't really providing today, and even things that we add to things like Monday. The more agile board views for the actual portfolio level, not down at the detailed task level within your boards or your project plans, or even roadmap views across it all. Then there's the resource capacity planning we talked about, which is important. The fact that we can't just blindly agree and commit to things without understanding, do we have the resources to deliver on that? We always have to balance the ability to deliver with our prioritization and what's important to the organization. Same holds true with dollars. If we're not managing the dollars and the financial aspects of that, looking at maybe original budget assumptions, what our revised forecasts actually turn out to be, what the actuals are in our actual spend, and even tracking things like projected revenue and or benefits are things that are important to many organizations. They can't do that blindly, just on an individual project by project basis. And then what's important when we talked about the pace of change is what if scenario modeling? Can we evaluate alternatives as situations on the ground change for us? Can we do that in a way that allows us to do this in more of a sandbox environment and assess what the best course of action or the right mix of projects are for us? Now, ultimately, when we decide on this, we make these evaluations, we have to execute. Now, OnePlan has its own tools. I mean, you can do a waterfall plan and an agile plan right within OnePlan, but as I mentioned, you don't have to switch to do that. You can leverage the use of your existing tools, and down below you can see Monday's logo is one of those tools in the work plan side of things, so that we can actually use our connector technology to routinely bring in that data on an automated basis so that it feeds up into the portfolio, so that all the other portfolio management capabilities incorporate all the Monday data or the data from any other tool you might be using in conjunction or alongside it. And that includes things like managing issues and risks and changes across the board. Now, resource management does start at times in an individual project basis and be able to provide resource planning at the increment that's appropriate for you and have that all roll up to that overall resource capacity plan that we talked about earlier on is something that's native within OnePlan and really provides a capability far beyond what you can get in Monday.com. Now, the ability to look at the work, if I'm a team member or a resource or a user, me having all my work in one place that I can assess it, not just things that maybe aren't coming from Monday, maybe things that are assigned from me from other tools, or maybe just from in OnePlan itself, be able to come in and go to one place, one hub to do that, to see what's on my plate, to status it, to provide comments, to do other aspects of that and actually execute on the work is very important, let alone if I have to do timesheets. And having a timesheet that's already built in that allows me to capture time so I can capitalize labor, so I can do chargebacks internally, so I can invoice customers is something that you don't have to go out to use some other third-party tool and integrate with in order to make that happen. And then ultimately, you want reports and analysis, whether it be individual status reports on individual projects that brings in all these dimensions we talked about, dashboards at the portfolios and program levels or multi-portfolio levels that you might want, things that you're not getting in execution tools like Monday today. And then the visualizations, the way that we interrelate things and associate enterprise architecture elements and strategies and see how they all visually interrelate with one another so we don't miss the mark on things that we have to take into account as we execute or as we decide whether or not to execute. Ultimately, we have to deliver value. Now, one thing that's really taken hold over the last year plus is OnePlan's investment in artificial intelligence. And our assistant, Sophia GPT, provides purpose-built capabilities in this area to help us make decisions and also execute in these areas in a more effective and more knowledgeable manner. The key here is all these tools help us to select the right work to do the right work, and then to execute well, meaning to do the work right. Now, OnePlan plus Monday, combined, there's benefits. By integrating this, you can actually leverage your use and ease of use of Monday for basic project management, but harness the strength of both of these platforms so that we get the benefits that we're looking for strategic portfolio management, whether it be the improved visibility across it all at levels that are not easy to get to within Monday, your portfolio planning tools, whether it be strategic planning, alignment with those strategies, and even the what if scenarios that we're talking about in the portfolio planning realm. The resource management we talked about, the financial management we talked about, and then the reporting and the analytics with more comprehensive data at a higher level of information and a more aggregate set of information, a complete set of information that we've had in the past. So portfolio visibility across all your Monday projects can be brought into one place and provide these capabilities that are missing. Prioritization across all of it, whether it be projects that are coming in from Monday, your Monday boards, or things that are being built right in OnePlan or some other tools itself. So these advanced capabilities are being provided by OnePlan. The visualizations of how all these things interrelate with one another is something that's a natural output of the process here. And then the resource capacity planning, utilization across everything, whether it be just what you're doing in Monday or more than that. We can look at it in a more comprehensive way and get better information and more decisions on our ability to deliver. Same with the financials. And then the dashboards. Every piece of data that's in OnePlan, whether or not they're custom fields that you've built themselves or standard fields that are in OnePlan itself, they're all available through an OData feed that feeds a robust set of reports, which there's some 50 plus templates that are out there to start with, but that you can actually modify those or add those to your own, leveraging any of the OnePlan data that exists. Now, when we talk about integrations, yeah, we're going to focus on Monday today, right? But other work management tools, other genres of tools, whether it be your financial system, whether it be your CRM systems, whether it be your service management systems, et cetera, OnePlan's OneConnect technology allows us to have a fully comprehensive hub of information to the degree that you want it to be, including more than just even your work management tools. Now, Sophia, this collaborative AI assistant really is a purpose-built solution that was built specifically for strategic portfolio management in OnePlan. It's based on Microsoft's Azure OpenAI, not the general OpenAI that's out there on the internet. So it has some additional compliance and security that is inherent with that. And then it leverages the ability to take what it's learned about strategic portfolio management, as well as leverage your OnePlan data that's on your screen to assess and provide some answers to your prompts and give you a lot of capabilities that you might be looking for. And it's always on. It's a standard capability in OnePlan. It's always available in the lower right, and no matter what capability you're in OnePlan, you can ask it prompts to assist you wherever you might need it. In areas that this might hold true within strategic portfolio management would be in your strategic planning, in your portfolio optimization, in optimizing your work management or your schedules, in your risk assessment and risk management, in helping you with resource allocation, and even the financial aspect of it in financial. So just some of the areas that it's doing live and actively today. So with that, I thought I would go into a demonstration, and let's talk about an overall portfolio of information. So here, I'm looking at a central portfolio. Now, OnePlan has a number of different capabilities that are available to us on the left navigation, whether it be, our overall strategic plan, our ideation, enterprise architecture, our resource planning, et cetera. But I'm going to start here in the portfolio. And one of the things OnePlan allows you to do is to structure your portfolio in a way that makes sense to you. Now, we have templates that start this out in the more common ways that people do this. But for example, our plan type hierarchy is really decided by you. For example, you might have a portfolio level where there's one or more portfolios like you see here. There might be a program level underneath that you have different programs within which there might be projects and agile epic efforts that underneath that. Once again, this is merely an example of what you might have here. As I expand this out and I look at this, what you can see here is in the data analytics transformation portfolio and within the enterprise data platform program within that portfolio, you'll see that I have there and within other programs and portfolios, other Monday.com projects. So if you're a Monday.com shop who's just looking to elevate your game with what you're doing with Monday, Monday can be the feeder for all the detailed plans that are coming from your execution level across the entire portfolio. And the key here is that you can decide what views you'd like to have here. You structure the plan type hierarchy. You structure different list views like you see here that might have different components in here by, you might want to see something with more financial information or things with more prioritization type of information across the portfolio, et cetera. Or you might even decide, because you have custom fields and metadata about the ways you categorize your projects, you might want to standardize that here because you really don't standardize that in Monday. And the key here, for example, I might be looking at a list of all my Monday projects that are coming in from Monday.com. And I might say, let me not do this by the primary plan type hierarchy of portfolio and program and project. Let me go in here and maybe sit there and say, let me group this by, say business unit. And let's say I have a piece of metadata here that's basically saying, by IT, by product development, by operations, and all the projects that are in here, and I can either filter or group by the same parameters, right? And the key here is I can look this flexible different ways as I go through here to organize this. If it's not business unit I'm looking at, maybe I'm looking at how we categorize our projects. And I may be looking at saying, what am I got going on in business transformation and compliance right now, or in process improvement? I might want to look at this by, I don't know, by who the executive sponsor is, right? And basically look at those things and say, what has Amanda got on her plate? And who don't we have an executive sponsor identified for a particular project, if that's even possible. So once again, flexible ways that we can look at our portfolio across the board, even doing things like who's the project manager and look at who's, basically looking at these things and see basically how Daniel Williams projects are going. So the key here is very flexible list views on how we look at our portfolio, all starting with the details that are coming from Monday.com. Now, we also have board views. And in those board views, we might look at the same portfolio level data. This isn't task level, this is portfolio level data by a variety of different parameters. We can set our columns and potential swim lanes based upon different parameters. So here, this board is by the state of the project, what we got that's proposed and active, and it's colored by whether it's red, yellow, green, or whether it's on track or not, right? At any given point in time on our board, I can look at something that's red, for example, and get the data to pop out in detail on that at any given point in time to basically come in and say, why is this thing red? What seems to be the problem? And as I look through the data, I see it's the schedule that seems to be the issue, and the financial health is a little bit at risk and running off track. So I can get that information or even drill directly into that item right from this board. But I could also look at things like, I don't know, let me look at it by strategy. And if I want to see which things are aligned with which of our strategies and see how those are going. Or potentially with swim lanes, I could do strategic alignment by goals. So here I've got the goals themselves of customer satisfaction, grow the business, run the business, and how strongly they align with each of those. So an extreme alignment here on customer satisfaction, where this one's more moderate. Once again, all the metadata you have in here can be used for different flexible boards. The same holds true with roadmaps. And as I come through here, I can get complete roadmaps of what's going on here. In this case, I'm looking at it by business unit. Once again, I could do the same things by that I looked at by, say, by the category, or even by, I'll just do the same example here by executive sponsor, et cetera. But you get the idea. And from any of these views, these are live. These are not static roadmaps. I can come in here at any given point in time, and I can drill in to a particular project and the data around that from anywhere and from any view here as we go through, let alone the reporting and the dashboards. So as I go through here and I look at dashboards and I have portfolio and program level information, I can actually go into a portfolio and say, here's a portfolio summary of the multiple portfolios that we're working on. And I can maybe isolate and focus on the data regarding one singular portfolio, or even just drill into the details for that singular portfolio and get down to the individual programs that might be within that particular portfolio, of which there's only one here. But if I drill even through to that and I go into a particular program, you'll see that there's multiple projects and epics within there. I got overview on financial, resource, and other things. I've got status information that mirrors the KPIs and the color coding we saw in the live views within OnePlan, let alone things like the financial aspects on the individual projects within this, and even execution details on things like what have we completed, what's overdue, what risks and issues are we still have outstanding, etc. So once again, all this is available to us right from within this reporting set of capabilities. Now, if I go back to the list view of my portfolio, and let's just say I wanted to drill into a specific project. Now I can go into any particular dimension of a particular project by just clicking on the right here, and I can get into the schedule, the resource plan, whatever. But let's just drill into it holistically by clicking on the project itself. Now, the details of this project, you decide. And this form, we have templates, but this details page could have your life cycle or your phases or gates, have the metadata that you want to capture around these to categorize these things that we used in those views. You might have business case information that comes over from the idea of the request, as well as project prioritization and financials and project effort and KPIs that are in here, and even alignment, which we'll talk about in a little bit where these come from, but how these things might be aligned with different key results in the strategic plan, how they might be aligned with different applications, how they might be aligned with different products and or value streams. And once again, this can be as comprehensive or as simple as you need it to be, okay? Now, if I go into the work plan, this is where it gets kind of cool with the Monday side of things, right? If I go into this schedule, you'll notice that each of the work elements in here of this schedule has a Monday icon next to it. And if I click on to my integration button up in the toolbar, you can see that I have an active integration between Monday.com. That's basically the source of the data where it's coming in from. Now, the cool part is that OneConnect from OnePlan can be configured such that it will routinely get those updates on an automated basis for you without the user having to intervene, though I could do an on-demand import or an on-demand export of that data back out to Monday if changes are made on this side, but the end user does not have to do that. And if I go to try to open that, and if I have access to Monday on the other side, it's going to take me to the source Monday plan that this information came from. So for example, here, this data warehouse migration that I'm in, this is the Monday board, right? That basically this information came from. And depending on how we configure our connector, it will pull in whatever data elements you have from over here into corresponding fields within OnePlan, such that you have seamless integration, that it rolls up as where appropriate into the portfolio, and then also leverage the portfolio only capabilities that are in here associated with this particular project and or board from Monday, okay? And in here, you can also have backlogs of Agile plans. You can track your issues and your risks in here as well, and basically do all the things that you might want to do on risks and issues and change requests, etc. So once again, all the things comprehensively coming together into the OnePlan hub. And that includes being able to build a resource plan. And a resource plan in here could be, built in terms based on hours. It could be based on percentages. It could be based on full-time equivalents. And the key there is you can plan both generically, you can plan by named individuals, and you can plan by even teams in here if you so desire. And you can plan maybe more top down, like you're seeing here with committed plans where you're doing percentages of their effort, irrespective of whether or not we have a schedule yet. Or you might have a scheduled resource plan that is bottom up, that's basically coming up based upon all of the tasks that are assigned in this Monday.com plan to Daniel and the resource allocation that's on there for him, and rolling all that up so that you're getting a more bottom up type of approach. And you can actually grab timesheets from in here and have the actuals there as well. And then the financial piece is really about, what level of detail do you want to track financials? Do you want to track labor overall? And that can actually come from your resource plan based on the rates of the resources that are in there, and all the non-labor stuff that you might want to track in here as well. And you can even forecast different types here, the original budget, forecast actuals, and even benefits and or revenue. You can track that in here as well. So once again, full complete capabilities that enhance and add to what you can do today natively right within Monday.com. Now, the other piece here is people want to do program management. And as you see here, we had a portfolio level, a program level, and the project level in here. Now, a program, I guess you could put a piece of metadata against a project and say, hey, this is part of program A, and it could just group and filter and things based on that. But what if the program is more than that? What if that program is really an entity? And let me drill into the program level. And that program, we might have program level details and justification. We may have program level budgets of which the member projects of that are basically decrementing from that budget, and we want to understand where we stand on all those things. We might want to have a detailed financial plan around that. But the other key piece we might want to have is a work plan that rolls up all the data from the individual Monday projects into a program. And so in this particular case, let me go into the schedule. And in there, we can actually roll up all the different, and let me collapse it first to make it more meaningful for you here. So here, I've got the individual project plans that are part of this program. I even have stuff that is scheduled here within the program itself. I might have program level milestones, et cetera, that we're working through. And then the key here is that each of these would be an individual plan that's rolling up into a master plan here that I can get common visibility and maybe even do dependencies between the elements within these across the different projects that are in here. So good program management instead of just individual project management that you're probably doing in Monday today. Okay. Now, some additional capabilities. So we talked about the flexible portfolio nature of this, and there's the ability for an individual contributor or a user to have tools that help them as well. So let's just say they're in Monday and they're potentially maybe even in some other groups that are using some other tools potentially, but setting up insights such that they can come in and see what's requiring their attention, what's falling out of compliance, what's overdue, what requires their approval, what requires their attention, what conversations are going on around the plans and the resources and the tasks that they're involved in. Ready access to the plans that they have access to, including the Monday.com projects, right, that are in here, and the ability to be able to look at all that. So once again, a single place to go for that team member. They also have a My Work area that might include more than just things that were generated in Monday. So yes, we have the Monday.com task that I've associated with myself here. There may be some comments around that. I might have set up some pick punch list items for myself across that as well. But the idea here is that I have one place to go across all the different projects I'm working to go and work and provide status and updates and comments across all of it. And that also holds true for the timesheet. So if you have a need within your organization to do timesheets, I might have some Monday.com project related elements that I'm charging time to. I might charge time here on a daily basis and have to have notes of explanation, especially if I'm charging back or billing stuff to clients. But a comprehensive timesheet that allows me to fill all that in one place and also let me know how much of what I've been allocated has already been taken up before I even do this, and full approval processes in here as well. So for strategic portfolio management, at the beginning, you probably have leadership that is creating strategies, and those objectives and key results that we talked about, right, allow us to create an objective, which is a strategy, and have maybe supporting key results that are tangible measures of progress towards achieving that, right? If I drill into and improve IT infrastructure and I look at that, I can look at the details. Let me look at the details first. And the things I want to capture around the objective, its description, when it is that we'd like to get it done, maybe what budget or benefits we're looking for, and then also the associated key results that we have around that. Okay, and then when we go in and want to look at this, we might want to look at that visualization we talked about. So from a perspective of this objective, are there other objectives that are dependent on it? Okay, which it seems that there is right now. But how about all the things that it's related to? As I come in here, I can see this objective has 3 key results of which have different varying states of successful progress. There's different projects and epics associated with them. as well as when we talk about the enterprise architecture element, what products, applications, and business capabilities are affiliated with those that we might have to take into account as we go through this. And as I go through this, I can get the information about any one of these nodes very quickly just by clicking and pulling out the quick edit or drilling fully into that item to get going. So once again, complete visibility and interrelation across the entire plan. Okay. Now, as we go into ideas give you the ability to have a portal for anybody in your organization to come in here and submit a request or an idea. And for example, as I look in here, let me go into the drill into the website redesign. You might decide what in this form you want to capture, and that could include things like what is your approval process that you're going to go through, right? What data and categorization do you want to capture? What business case narrative do you want? What financials and or prioritization mechanism do you want to use to generate an automated prioritization score? What associated things might there be? And here this is associated with a key result in the strategic plan already before we even decide upon it, but we can see that it's related. And once again, you can visualize this element and where it sits at any given point in time. Okay. Now, one of the keys here is that once you decide, you may have most organizations have many more ideas and requests than they could ever hope to do. And you might have different views that include your prioritization scores. You might have one that maybe you do a little more crowdsourcing, and maybe you want to allow people to not only prioritize these things in this process, but maybe even have votes on them and understand, how things are being voted on and what the popularity of some of these ideas are as well. That's all available to you within here. But ultimately, whatever your decision-making process is on this, you can come in here and you can, what we call, reorganize. And if you reorganize, you can basically come in and convert these from an idea or a request into a project and carry forth with it all the data that you captured through that entire idea and request process, and just carry it on to the next stage of the life cycle. So meaning it's all end to end right within this solution. Okay. Now, let's just use this as an opportunity to talk a little bit of Sophia. That isn't the focus of our presentation today, but I should probably raise it since it is such a key element these days. Now, what if I came in here and I asked Sophia a question? I have all these different ideas and requests. I've got some data around it, right? And what if I asked Sophia, based on priority and ROI, what 3 projects should we approve first and why? And so I'm going to ask it to look at the data, and it's looking at what it knows about strategic portfolio management concepts, as well as looking at the data that's in OnePlan live in here, and assess that and factor that in. And it basically is saying that website redesign has high priority and high value, and the potential has already been proven, signaling its importance. It's giving rationale on the voice assistant integration as well as the cybersecurity audit. So once again, it's giving us insights into why we might choose something ahead of something else. The other key piece, and I showed you it in the context of an individual project plan, but the whole idea of overall resource all-up capacity planning, okay? As we do this on individual project by project basis, we might come in here and look at a set of resources and understand in terms of either hours, or maybe to maybe more comprehensible, how about just in full-time equivalents, where I can see that for me, Daniel Williams is more than full-time allocated across many of these months here within that, right? And as I go through that, I can see that as I look through that, he's on a bunch of projects, including this Monday.com project that's in here. And the idea there is we may have to decide to offload some of that stuff from him. Now, one way to say that is for example, maybe I need to get him off of this Agile transformation project. And let me say I take him off of that Agile transformation project or candidates. I could actually find candidates in here and find matches by his role or by other best match types of capability. And I can see that Steve Masters has plenty of availability in the time frame that I need, and I can actually replace Daniel with Steve here very easily in a very streamlined fashion in order to make that happen should I want to. I can also look at this in a variety of different ways. Like here, I'm looking at by individual resources. but what if I just kind of organize this resource information by the roles, right? And I wanted to understand from a, let's just say from another, once again, from an FTE basis, how we're doing on the engineer side of things. And I can basically see here that I still have generic engineer assignments that I haven't put a name to yet. I can still use that resource substitution capability to make that happen, let alone look at what's actually in the schedules themselves and be able to come and look at that scheduled bottom-up resource plan and see in the engineer side that Daniel Williams is in here, and from the bottom up, look at all these different projects he's on, and within these projects, let's say on the Monday.com project, here's the different tasks that he's on within that are contributing to this over allocation. So once again, this all up comprehensive view that factors in all of your Monday.com data. Okay. And I'd say before we get into the modeling, let's just say enterprise architecture allows you the ability to have different portfolios of other strategic elements that we need, whether it be a product portfolio with your different products in them, business capabilities, applications, value streams, etc. And as you will notice, if I drill into an application like this customer relationship management piece, what you'll notice is that the form is not like a project form. It has things like a canvas for your application vision, including a SWOT analysis, right? Other application prioritization, maybe a release schedule, etc. And you could even have work plans in here, for example, if you wanted to go down and plan out your releases and when your upgrades are going to happen, and all the different types of things that you're working on can happen within the context of this. But as I look at this customer relationship management, once again, from this perspective, I could visualize what it's dependent on or what's dependent on it. And then I can also see how that application flows back and is integral into a strategy as well as other projects that may be dependent upon it. So once again, all these things are interrelated all the way through. Now, I did mention in the slides about what if analysis. And if I go into a model, and once again, this is about modeling and doing analysis without really impacting your production data. In this particular case, I've selected a bunch of projects and potential projects that I might want to have in this scenario of what I might embark upon, right? And if I do this, I might come in here and say, if I did all these projects, you know, what would be the resource implication of that? And if I look at that, I can see there's a lot of red in there. I probably can't do it as specified. So what if I decided I'm going to limit this by either by costs or by resources? And let's just say I came in and said, let me look at what I can do to fit this all within a $10 million budget. And in this particular case, I've selected and deselected projects so they can fit within this budget. And let's just say financially, this scenario was done so that I fit underneath a $10 million threshold. And I'm looking at it and it meets the financial needs of all that, right? I could do selection, deselection. I could move things out in timeline to kind of make everything fit into the different scenario. But I can also now look, and if I look at it from a resource perspective down here as well, you'll see that I only have really one pocket of red in here. So this is a much more doable plan. So maybe I have a plan now that I can work with the context of what it is that I'm working with, but I can only do 17 of this prospective projects that were in here, okay? Now, if I do different scenarios, like I did a $15 million scenario and other scenarios in here, I could come in here and say, let me do an analysis where I compare all these different scenarios and whatever parameters I'm looking at. For example, another $5 million. What I notice here is that for another $5 million in investment, I could potentially get another $20 million in benefit. Is it worth me going out and getting the additional $5 million in funding? Do we want to be able to look at this data from a pivot chart perspective and be able to analyze this financially from a variety of different ways, just like a pivot chart where I can drag different pieces of data in? Do I want to do a bubble chart in here where I can do more of a traditional portfolio management bubble chart, look at the prioritization versus the benefits and the size of the projects by the bubbles and see what we've selected, and maybe even overlay onto that what we didn't select and see if we've missed the mark on some things that we should have selected, okay? And then the visualizer is used here in another way. For example, in this particular case, of what I've selected in here, are there things that are dependent on these things that I should have considered, or do I need to reconsider that maybe I should put those in lieu of something else that doesn't have a dependency in here as I go through and factor in that complete runway of all the interrelations that are here. So once again, something to consider as we go through here and we evaluate this, and we can then save as many of these scenarios and evaluate as many alternatives as we care to. Now, here, Sophia might be another area we could use. So let's just say, I'll just say there's priority, there's benefits, there's associated items, right? What if I come in here and I'd say controls, let me say based on priority, benefits, and associated items, what projects should we consider moving from out to in? So in my analysis here, could I have Sophia help me with my analysis and look at more parameters and dimensions on this than maybe I could at the same time? And the idea here is we'll see what it comes up with. So looks like it's selecting predictive maintenance because of its high prioritization score, also has high benefit, and it also is very strong on compliance and regulation standards, which we might have to do anyway. So once again, it's giving us some good qualitative and quantitative analysis on what we should be doing here. So let me go back to slides here and let's summarize and talk about some potential next steps. So strategic portfolio management is now expanding on traditional PPM and adapting for the modern digital business. And SPM brings together business capabilities, investments, programs, digital and physical products, applications, projects, all together in a common purview. And OnePlan provides all this capability in a complete SPM platform. Now, OnePlan adds this full set of capabilities for Monday.com users. You can actually just leverage it, bringing in your Monday.com data. And from a bottom-up standpoint, OnePlan connects to Monday.com to provide the overarching governance for an ePMO or any other PMO function, and provides a pre-built connector for Monday.com so it's easy to get started. So compared to other portfolio management tools, OnePlan is relatively low cost and faster to implement than many other complex tools that are out there. Now, we're consistently recognized as a market leader in this discipline of portfolio management. You know, Microsoft, we're built on the Microsoft Cloud, has recognized as 5 years running as either the winner or the finalist in the Global Project and Portfolio Management Partner of the Year efforts. And we're recognized by Gartner. Forrester Wave just recognized us this year in Strategic Portfolio Management as a strong performer, Infotech Research, and others. So we do get recognized out there in the marketplace consistently. Now, we do webinars like this consistently. You know, we have a couple coming up, one on August 1st and one on August 8th that you might want to look at, as well as a rich library of on-demand webinars that can maybe provide you some insights and advance your knowledge on some of these disciplines as you go through. Now, we do offer free trials. And if you want to try strategic portfolio management in OnePlan, reach out to us. You know, you can go to oneplan.ai/solutions or find it out on Microsoft App Source, and you can get a free trial. You can work with it. There's sample data, so you don't have to, you know, populate it all yourself. But we're also available to provide complimentary assistance for you to make sure you get the most out of your trial experience. So take us up on that. Engage with us on a free trial, and don't be bashful about asking for our help. A roadmap workshop is something we can do if you just want to have a discussion of where you're at, where you'd like to get to, what tools you might already own, and what it might take to get you from point A to point B. We're happy to have that discussion with you on a complimentary basis. Or if you're not that far and you want a more detailed demonstration, I did a very high-level brush through of all these different areas. We're happy to do this in context of your particular situation, should you want to schedule that with us. Just reach out to us at contact@oneplan.ai, or you can just do more research for the moment at www.oneplan.ai. Either way, we'd love to hear from you. Once again, thank you for time out of your valuable day today. Hopefully you found this of value. We use the term the power of one, bringing all this stuff into a common hub, whether it's all your Monday.com information, whether it's information from a variety of sources. Bringing it all together for good comprehensive decision-making and good strategic portfolio management discipline is something we're passionate about. So reach out to us, look us up. Feel free to reach out to me directly if you care to. And you will be getting a copy of these slides as well as a link to the recording if you want to watch this again or share it with others. Thank you again and have a great day.